I'm a perfectionist, but what is perfect? By society standards, I will always be too something. Too young, too insecure, too female, too muscular. I've always felt the need for external validation, reassurance from others. Somehow, I've let my self-image be built brick by brick from the feedback I've received from others. I'm not quite sure how it happened, but if I look back over the course of my life, I see a pattern. How I see myself has been changed by powerful societal influences. These influences have whispered to me and shown me who I'm supposed to be and what I'm supposed to look like. All the while, I didn't realize I was listening so closely to these whispers. I grew up surrounded by these influences. The generation brainwashed by the Barbie effect. The mentality of a 36, 18, 33 hourglass figure that was shown favorable to the masses. I'm as well part of the social media generation where thinspo, fitspo, and diet culture are at an all-time high. During middle school, I was surrounded by the Photoshop perfection of my peers, idols, and influencers. I didn't look like that. Back in middle school, I was a provincial level soccer player. I was strong, I had muscle, I wasn't slender. I was built as I should have been, and it worked for my sport. My body type gave me speed and strength and made me great. But internally, I hated how I looked. I thought I was fat, and I didn't like me. When I was in grade 9, I broke my ankle pretty badly. After 6 months of rehab, I was 30 pounds heavier and absolutely mortified. I had lost control in all aspects of my life. So I decided that I could gain some back by changing myself to be what I thought at the time was more desirable. I stopped eating. I stopped eating to gain power. I stopped eating to feel worthy. I stopped eating to gain validation from others. Gradually, it worked. 6 months later, I was a lot smaller. At that time, it didn't matter that I was ruining my heart or constantly passing out because I started to feel worthy. As a teen, already feeling insecure about how I look, I am then bombarded by lollipops with minimal calories that suppress your appetite, HIIT workouts that make the fat fall off, and countless companies guaranteeing 16 pounds weight loss in just 4 weeks. When my anorexia was at its worst, I was confined to a hospital bed. The only thing on my mind was how I could lose more weight. I became a statistic. I was killing myself to try and feel worthy. Why me? Why was I so easily convinced I needed to change myself? Now, 3 years later, I continue to fight a war with my mind. I fight a voice that's sole purpose is to break me. I'm fat, ugly, fat, worthless, fat, greedy, fat. This voice manifests into a symphony of hate that rings through every fiber of my being. Shame is the most powerful master emotion. It is the fear that we are not good enough, not worthy of love. Brené Brown. It has taken me years to learn to like, let alone love any part of myself, but I'm learning to love who I am as a person. I love my accomplishments. I love what I'm capable of. I love my personality. Pretty is a disease infecting minds and creating mass obsession over the bigger and the better. Pretty doesn't have to hurt, but we let it. We let it because we are so fixated on skin deep. Changing your outsides is easy, working on yourself is hard. Who remembers the Disney movie Brave? When I was young, it was my absolute favorite. So this movie came out when I turned 11. At that time, I was already so entrapped in the idea of what I needed to look like and how I needed to act that at first it made me so frustrated. It made me so frustrated because I didn't know that I was allowed to go and be wild or break barriers that society had put me in such a small box. After I'd watched that movie, I remember going to my mom absolutely infuriated and went, "Mom, why didn't you teach me to slay my own dragons?" Now the point of my story is that my mom thought she did. My mom thought she taught me that I could be whatever I wanted. My mom thought she taught me that I could act however I wanted. We need to teach parents, along with the next generation, how to value individuality and uniqueness, because currently we are just exacerbating each other's flaws. We have a world where people are killing themselves to try and feel worthy. I can't help to think there must be a way to change this. Recently, I read a book called Strong is the New Pretty. It was based around young girls and ways in which they were strong, focused on aspects of their character as opposed to their looks. I found it extremely empowering. It very quickly challenged my view on how I interpret pretty. As up-and-coming leaders, we need to value individuality and uniqueness, as well as teach the next generation how to find their own perfection and be comfortable with their quirks. Change starts with us. It starts with us reevaluating the fairy tales we read to our children. Not judging, but listening and understanding. Realizing the power of words and using them carefully. Praising people for their accomplishments, as opposed to the weight they've lost over the summer. It's time to preach self-love, praise self-confidence, and put away the judgment we've developed towards ourselves and others. Thank you.